Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything coming at you with another Wargaming in miniatures for our Robotech RPG Tactics game. This is the one that I'm currently involved in working on terrain and miniatures and learning the rules and playtesting it and stuff like that. So this is where our Wargaming miniatures is all about right now. Now, I did have an opportunity to play a game with Mike down at our local game store. Of course I lost. He was playing the RDF, and yeah, I mean, we had a really good time. It only took us about an hour and a half to play the game. Then we basically showed the game off to a bunch of people, like 15 to, well, maybe not 15, maybe about 10 to 12 people came in, and we showed them how to what it looked like, what it was all about, and stuff like that. And we're scheduling other games in the future, so look forward to that. Hopefully, I'll be able to take my camera into the shop. I didn't ask. I was just kind of like eager to play. So, but this next time, I'm going to see if I can't get my camera in there and we film some of these demo games for you guys. Okay, but we were playing with Drop Zone Commander buildings, and you know my Drop Zone Commander buildings are like this big, right? They're 10mm buildings, and the playmat, the tiles are 1x1, which is a really convenient size, and the roads, they're pretty much to scale. They're probably closer to N or Z scale, which is, and I'm thinking they're not like 160, but they're probably like 200, 220, something like that. And if that's the scale for that, they might be just a little bit too big for what we're doing, but the road sizes felt very comfortable when we were playing. The buildings were they just seemed out of scale. You know, the 10mm buildings do seem out of scale. So what I've done, and what you can do, if you want 100 buildings, that's another thing. Over the last 2 weeks, I have been doing cardstock buildings out the wazoo. I've got probably, I stopped counting, but I think I've got like 40 of them. 40 cardstock buildings. And I plan to do more, because I want to have a building for every occasion. Plus I want to have a different variety of styles of buildings. Like one of them's a hospital, another one's a garage, and you know, a lot of skyscrapers. But I need a little bit of everything, right? So I'm going through my, and I'm getting these buildings for free, and you can get them for free too. And I'm going to show you, I love the look of my Drop Zone Commander buildings, but they're too big. So what do you do? Well, guess what? Drop Zone Commander has their buildings. You can download them from their website and print them out and construct them yourself on cardstock or paper. But I would prefer cardstock to give it a little stability. Cardstock's not that much more than paper. So, okay, I'm going to show you where to go to get them, how to download them, how to print them. And so let me go ahead and switch this screen to my monitor. There you go. And just all you got to do is just type in Drop Zone Commander. And it should be like Hawk War Games right here. It's the very first one. Okay, and that takes you to their website. Okay. And then hidden all the way up at the top. Don't look at this menu here, but right here, downloads. I don't know, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Go to downloads. And in downloads, you see that you can download roads if you want your own roads. You can download templates and everything, but this is for their game. But they have buildings. And when this says US paper, this company's like English. And as you know, the British standard paper size is more narrow and taller. So it's not 8.5 by 11. It's like 8 by 12 or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the US paper, right? And that brings up all these printable documents. Now I'm scrolling all the way down to the very bottom, and you're going to see this 3 by 2. In their game, they've got these little squares, and the building tops have these squares. A 3 by 2 is kind of like, obviously, a rectangular one. So, and it says letter, which is just basically just put it on your regular paper. But it doesn't really matter because we're going to shrink it anyway. But here's 3 by 2 roofs. Okay, so you're going to need to go to the roof, right? And you notice how it's 3 by 2 roofs, right? When I printed it, it only had 2. Did they update this? What's going on? Oh, I printed it off from my very own software. I've already downloaded it and saved it and stuff. And okay, no, it was the older files. But let's go ahead and look at this. So you go to download the roofs. Now, the roofs are a separate piece. And one of the reasons that's pretty cool, because if you wanted to reinforce the roof, all you do, this is what I do, is I would print 2 of these, and then I would use one of them as a template for maybe a real thick mat board or something like that. Or you could use 2 cards. A lot of times I use the roof on the bottom to give the bottom a square stability too. So that's just something you can think about. But when you take this roof and you go to print it, right? So let's go to print it. Okay, now you're going to see, now this is your 8.5 by 11, right? 8.5 by 11. Okay, but when you go to scale, this is just using the PDF to print, and I want to print using my system dialog, right? So I'm going to click that. That's going to take me to my printer, right? And on my printer, I'm going to go to Preferences. Now you can, that brings up my dialog. Now every manufacturer printer is going to have their own different dialog, and make sure I go to Text and Image. If you leave it on, you don't need to worry about that unless you just want it to be super duper, but I go Text and Image. It gives me the best picture for me. It doesn't matter if any of this stuff. What we need to worry about is Advanced. I take off high speed just to get a clearer picture. Wait a second, I'm missing something here. Reduce enlarge document. There we go. And we're going to reduce it. Now, as you know, Robotech Tactics is 6mm, and Drop Zone Commander is 10mm. So the obvious choice is to click 60%, because that'll take you from 10 to 6, right? So you go 60%, and then we'll tab out of that. Okay, and once you get back to this site, then you go to a building that you like. Now remember, the buildings all come in different sizes, you know, 5 by 2. Oh, no wonder. Okay, the one I printed out was a 5 by 2. Okay, so we go to 5 by 2 roofs. Okay, you just print that just like I showed you, right? And then you go to, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah, there we go. That's what I printed out, the 5 by 3, and you can count the blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then by 3. And then I don't think I did a metal sheet, commercial metal sheet maybe? Double checking. That kind of looks like the one I printed out. So and these are the 2 sides. This would be the sides, so you need to print one of those, and then you go to the metal sheets. See, it's like sheet 2, sheet 1, and then you would need to print this twice. It says print 2 sheets, so that basically the 2 long sides you would need to print. And when you go to print them, remember, you just print, and then you go to however your software works on your printer. You just need to go to the printing settings that you have on your printer, and then print by a percentage, and I recommend to go with 60%. And what that'll do is it'll take this image and reduce it down to a 60% image, and then when you print it out and you put it together, it's going to come out as, let me show you. Boom. Okay, now this right here is, remember those 3 by 5, and you got your 2 sides, you know, obviously, and then that one page actually gets you both ends, and you just fold it, cut it, glue it together. I used a cardstock to put on the bottom so that it will give you, the bottom won't warp, and then I didn't do that on the top. I don't think I need to, because the models are light enough and the area that you're gluing on here is small enough that you're not going to get a bunch of bowing or warping or anything like that. One great thing about Drop Zone Commander buildings is that they have this ledge, okay, this little lip along the edge of the buildings that when you put your miniatures on, they don't slide off or fall off or do any of that stuff. Now, in Robotech Tactics, you don't care if it's 5 by 3 squares. You don't need to know any of that. That's a Drop Zone Commander mechanic. Now, I'm going to lower the camera so you can see how this 60% Drop Zone Commander compares to other 1/300 scale buildings that I got off of Sarna.net. Alright, now here's the cutting mat, and here's that building. And I don't know if you're really getting a really good view of this, but I could lower the I was thinking I could lower the camera, but no, it'd be alright. So this is a 1/300 scale, or yeah, I guess it is now, a 1/300 scale Drop Zone Commander building, which I love the look of the Drop Zone Commander buildings. They're well put together. They're photorealistic looking. Yeah, these buildings are just incredibly awesome. That's all I have to say about them. And like, here's a couple of buildings that I downloaded and printed from Sarna.net. Okay, now these buildings are all 1/300 scale buildings. You can go to Sarna.net and go look for their downloads. They have probably 100 different buildings you can download. Like this one's a garage. You can see the garage bay doors, and that's the front of the garage. You know, there's the 1/300 scale doorways. There's one, you know, there's that, and the roofs. Now you notice the roofs are kind of flush up here. They're not indented like that, but that's okay. No worries. Okay, so now let's just put that in and amongst some other buildings. It fits in just right. It's pretty much the right scale. Now, when you take your Robotech RPG Tactics figures, you're not getting. You notice how they're what, about 4 stories tall for Varnishing? Sounds about right, right? Instead of only like 2 stories with the other buildings. And like here's a battle pod. Okay, there you go. So there's the 1/300 scale building. Now I plan to download. I already have all these downloaded, and I was planning on printing them in 10mm to match my other buildings, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to just go ahead and scrap the whole 10mm idea. I've pretty much realized that that was kind of a mistake, but the terrain is great. The 10mm buildings downscaled to 6mm with no problem, and I'm going to make a ton of these. I've got like 20 or 30 of these type of buildings. And on the table, they're not garish enough to where they stand out to the point where they don't look like they're in place. They actually do look like they're actually made perfectly for that. Alright, so thanks for coming out and checking out this video, and remember, please subscribe, and if you like these videos, like them, and I'm going to see what I can't do about, we're getting ready to use some varnish on the miniatures. That's one of our next steps that I'm going to show you before we do the decals, because I pretty much wanted to varnish them before I put the decals on, and then I can always put a second coat of the varnish on, and then I will dull coat them, because you want to put the varnish on, even if you're going to dull coat them and you want them non-shiny, you still want some kind of protective coat on there, and dull coat doesn't really protect it. it just makes your varnish not shiny. And then I'll probably go back over and touch up, like the lens on this guy might get varnished, and his like the pilots, like the fighters' cockpits and stuff, they might get varnished. And that was my update. All right, so go out and get some of those buildings, put them together, and happy hunting.